always a tough time of year, but tell me how you feel a few hours after assessing getting eliminated last night.
You're right. It is always tough. Have a little bit of a bus trip last night to reflect a little bit. I told the guys right after the game how proud I am of that group, and I know it's an 8th place finish in the conference, it's a first round exit, but I would consider that as proud as any of our teams here in the last few years in terms of what they had to fight through. Really from the beginning of the year, fighting through injuries, and then the direction of the team in the second half, and then the last 2 months was just so much fun. So much fun with these guys, pushing it every day. Some magical moments here, especially in Mem Gardens down the stretch run with some really must-win games. And I thought we gave the number one team in our conference everything that they can handle. And so it's tough to ask more of the group. We learned a lot. I think this group is primed here to now get after it right away, starting next year, and really excited for that.
I guess one of the things you've learned, and we talked about it earlier, is getting that first goal. I mean, when every team that got a lead ended up winning the game in this series, and that became such a big part of this series against the Bulldogs.
It did, and it's no surprise just in terms of how both teams kind of want to play. When they get that lead, they can really shrink things up in front of their net, and it's just hard to generate offense. And we feel like we can kind of do the same, and our systems are so identical in that regard. So, it's every game there. You look at it, the first 2 games, you got your goalie pulled, losing overtime, win game 4. Last night I really liked our first period. We're down by 1 on the road. And then they're elite guys, just found ways to kind of spread that one open, and you give them all the credit.
I know a lot of coaches say you learn more from losing than you do winning. What did this group learn from losing in this first round?
There's so much that this group learned, and again, I'm going back 2 months for sure of like rallying around each other, understanding the situation we were in. Some of those games, the important games, they knew it, they understood it. And then you go in against a team that's built pretty good here this year to win it in Brantford. And there's so much that goes into a playoff series: the prep work, the pre-scouting, the physicality, the emotions, everything that goes in a playoff series. I said it the other day, like, you can't buy that anywhere. You can't go out and purchase that experience. You have to go through it and live through it. And this group is just so far ahead now, being able to go through that.
How impressed were you of the composure? Obviously, they scored some power play goals, but the amount of really, penalties that you could say were really bad penalties, it seemed to diminish going into the playoffs. And obviously, when you're down 5-1, emotions can get the worst of some players, but you guys, left the ice with class. How important is that, I guess, as a learning experience too?
Yeah, I was proud of that.
That team's pretty confident on the other side.
Yeah, and we had to learn there. Game 1, the emotions got going a little bit, and I think from both teams' standpoint, and that's typical in a series. It seems to, both teams just start playing hockey by game, 2, 3, 4, and on. It really is just played, and it's something we talk about, of handling those emotions properly and doing all that. And looking back on it, maybe we had some bad breaks with some calls too, and they would probably say the same. But at the end of the day, it's everything that we went through. I'm going to have more time to reflect on it in the next few days, but a lot of learning went into these last few weeks.
And the end of the year is calm, obviously, but you got a lot of your players coming back next year, and you've got some really good draft picks coming up. So what are you looking forward to into starting the next year?
Well, we're going to have some good messages to our players here. There's a lot of work that can be done here in the off season, and just in the trending of a lot of our guys here in the last little bit, they have an opportunity to get off to the ground running real fast here. If we can have those summers and we can have that commitment from the group and really have that confidence, I think you can galvanize that in an off season. Certainly they're going to head home and do their thing, and we'll be in contact with them throughout the summer. But I think you can really galvanize that as a group, that excitement to come back, know what we're capable of doing here, and get off to the ground running. So looking forward to that.
How important, like, say, a lot of these players have played together for a while, and a lot of them are going to be here again next year, so they know each other, how they, they play and to work with each other. How does that help, as a team, focus for next year? Coming together, knowing each other quite well already.
Well, that's the important part of it, and that's what's fun about the junior hockey mold is, you can really start building things together, and year after year after year, you get a little bit better, you push the needle a little bit more. We talk about getting 1% better. You can get a lot better in an off season, and you just look at the guys are going to know the systems. The guys are going to be well versed in those areas. So now we can add things to it. We can push things on it, and we can improve in some areas a lot more because we have a good foundation now. And those are the things that are really good. And the silver lining of these last few months and going through it, you really see what this team can be capable of down the road here.